Jameson Williams. Let's talk about him, shall we?
Let's.
Playing in his second game this season. He's going to play more than 28 snaps, whatever the number was he played last week. And, you know, I have a couple things to say, and I want to get to what Ben said about JAMO because it kind of ties into what I'm going to say. And to this comment here, I want to read it off. Chuck Brewer says, if JAMO can't get 200 yards and 5 TDs on Sunday, he's a bust. We should cut him.
Oh, my, Chuck Brewer, that is such a straw man. It's ridiculous. How about get 3? How about get 3? How about that? 3. He had 2 last game.
Well, this is. Tell me if I'm off on this, Sam. I'll let you go, but I want to say this is how I thought about it last night because I was prepping for the show and I was thinking to myself, and I was like, how should I approach this JAMO topic? And how I thought about it was this: look at it from this perspective, okay? You have a good football team without Jameson Williams, okay? You've been getting production in the passing game without Jameson Williams. Do I think Jameson Williams could be special? I do. But I don't expect a guy to be force-fed. That's the thing, right? Being force-fed in an already efficient offense on a winning team. So there's like the other part of it is when I see that question, what do you expect out of JAMO this week? Here's what I think. I believe JAMO makes your offense better by him just being out there. I do. Because of the threat of his speed. I think that's very, if you're the opposing defensive coordinator, that's something you just have to account for no matter what. Same thing with Jahmyr Gibbs if he's out there. Defenses, they have to account for JAMO. Now, the trust will come. That's the other part of this thing that I've talked a lot about with Jared Goff because it has to be organic. The rapport between Jared and JAMO, it has to happen organically on the field. I don't want it to happen because, well, he's the 12th overall pick, and it has to happen. For JAMO, and listen, he understood the assignment. Ben Johnson, his famous quote, "No, if you don't block, no rock," and he took that and embraced it. And Ben actually spoke about it, and they asked him about his blocking, and Ben said if he continues to block like that, he's going to have plenty of snaps. Oh. So he's already doing that, which is, honestly, that's good coaching. Like, you set a standard, he blocks. Okay, now we can talk about getting you the football. Now, I still have faith he'll come along, but the problem is, speaking of rock, he just has to catch the rock when the play's there. You can't just block. Like, there's also the other part of it. Now, we still have 12 weeks to witness this Jameson Williams experiment. And Josh Reynolds, quite frankly, is holding it down for you as wide receiver 2. Do I want Josh Reynolds to get less targets? No. Do I want Cleve Raymond all of a sudden not get involved in the game plan? No. So there's that. Now, for JAMO, he has to really come in and earn it. I think maybe this week you could have a play where there's busted coverage and JAMO gets free for a TD. Maybe he catches a touchdown catch or he makes a big play. Who knows? Like, the third level of every defense has to account for him on a daily, every single week. There's that chance. And maybe he breaks free this week. I expect him to get a couple catches. Like, that would be ideal for him, especially Sam Laporta. But I'm not going to sit here and demand a big game out of JAMO. We have quite the runway the rest of the season to kind of see how this thing plays out and see if he can still become that second option. Because right now, Sam Flannel, Josh Reynolds, and Sam Laporta are the second option. Second and third options is pretty arguable. So they've been doing just fine with who they have. So I don't think JAMO should be force-fed, but organically, maybe we could see him get more involved in the game plan this week. But I'm not expecting over 100 yards, 2 TDs. Like these, the guy will come along. He's got 12 games to do so.
Yeah, and all right, you hit on some things that I wanted to hit on as well. So I'm actually going to try to be a little bit more measured and try to break bread with you guys a little bit when it comes to Jameson Williams.
Okay.
But first, a little bit of snark. I don't expect anything from Jameson Williams. Can he get 3 receiving yards? Can he have the sort of production where we're not talking about him getting open or blocking the next day? I think that is fair, but you know what? Here's where I'm at with Jameson Williams right now. I legitimately think, especially with how the Lions rebuild, which was supposed to be a rebuild when he was drafted, has been accelerated to where they had a damn good offense and a winning record last year and are going to win the division this year, basically with Jameson Williams being a non-factor and being out for a lot of it, may make Jameson Williams expendable on this particular team. It may, and here is why. Last season, Jameson Williams was drafted as an injured player, and we all knew that he wasn't going to play for a lot of the year, and I would argue that when he actually got some time, even though it was limited time, I would say he underachieved individually and was pretty much a non-factor. I mean, he only got 2 touchdowns stretches. What that did to this team, in my opinion, last year is it allowed Amon-Ra St. Brown to really, really emerge as the clear number one, as the top 10 wide receiver in the NFL, as the guy, the unquestioned number one. And for a guy like Khalif Raymond, who had been kind of an afterthought on this team, to be a productive player, to be second on this team in receiving yards.
He was a special teams player until he got to Detroit.
Of course, and to be a guy that you kind of had to give targets to, who had earned them and who you had to account for. And I also think where Jameson Williams shot himself in the foot a little bit, and you could argue it was a dumb rule. You can say all of that, but I'm not seeing a bunch of gambling suspensions being doled out to other impact players in the NFL. Jameson Williams, I think, may have screwed himself with getting a gambling suspension, because in his absence and in his first game back, this offense has looked even better than it did last year. Josh Reynolds has emerged as a true, maybe number 2 wide receiver.
Yep.
Sam Laporta has emerged as a legitimate, bona fide star tight end. You have 3 guys on this offense that legitimately could get 1,000 yards. I don't think they all will, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is on pace for it. Josh Reynolds is on pace for the high 900s, and Sam Laporta is also on pace for the high 900s. At some point with Jameson Williams, you just have to wonder, there's only one ball. Like you said, are they going to take away targets from Amon-Ra? Are they going to take away targets from Josh Reynolds? Are they going to take away targets from Sam Laporta? I think Jameson Williams, even though it was his first game back, had a golden opportunity to really come back with a bang in last game, in which it was his first game back with no Amon-Ra. But in that game, Josh Reynolds played a great game, 4 catches for 76 yards. Sam Laporta contributed, had 3 for 45 and 2 touchdowns. Khalif Raymond contributed. Marvin Jones even contributed, a guy who had been a disaster this season, who finally welcomed himself to this season. He had 2 for 22. And Jameson Williams was kind of an afterthought. He had 2 for 2. So I don't know if Jameson Williams is ever going to really ingratiate himself to this offense in the way that maybe he was designed to. I'm at the point now, and maybe we can agree on this one, maybe we can't. Some people are going to think I'm crazy. The Lions obviously wanted a receiver when they traded up to get Jameson Williams. I am 100,000 billion% at the point where I think they should have just stood pat and drafted either Christian Watson or George Pickens. Is that fair? Or is that not fair?
I'm not willing to go that far yet. Just because I personally, I only can speak for myself, I'm still high on JAMO. I still think JAMO and his speed. Now, Pickens is a hell of a player.
Right.
And I want to read this comment because this will, I want to put you on the stand for a second here, because Carnage says if JAMO was on the Chiefs, Sam would be thinking he's a Pro Bowler.
If he had the same production on the Chiefs, I would not be thinking he's a Pro Bowler. This man has literally had 3 receptions for 43 yards his entire NFL career and a carry for 40 yards. That is what I'm talking about. It's not because he's a Lion. It's not because I hate the Lions. It's because I like productive players. And I do not for the life of me understand why Jameson Williams is getting such runway in this town. It's like you can't say, thou shalt not say any negative word about Jameson Williams, because you guys think that people like us will only be happy if he gets 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. The man would set a career high for receiving yards in a game if he got 42. He would set a season high in the next game if he had 3. He's done nothing. It's not about the Chiefs or the Lions. God, you guys are so ridiculous sometimes. You see why I get mad at you?
And Flannel, kind of to double down on your point,
killer.
like I'm a JAMO fan, but like my favorite that year, that draft pick, my favorite mock every time, like when I was doing the mock draft, was George Pickens at 32.
Yeah.
So your take for that is not egregious.
Thank you.
But it's just not the situation right now. Like I'm not saying that JAMO's bad. But to your point, like if you get a guy like George Pickens, we might see different impact. But again, I don't think we've even seen what JAMO's role in this offense hasn't even been established yet. And whether that's worrisome or not, that's just the fact of it. We still haven't seen what JAMO can do in this offense.
Yeah, and we can't, like, I hate, the hindsight stuff. It's tough because now you're like, yeah, Pickens. But at the time, no, I thought JAMO's levels above Pickens. I think everyone did, at least his last year at Alabama. So, like, it's just, I hate doing that, because now you'd say, yeah, we like Pickens, but at the time nobody was saying, like, when they took JAMO, it's like, damn, we got Jameson Williams, arguably the best receiver coming out of the draft if he was healthy. So there's that part of it too. Now this comment I want to bring up and see what you guys react to it. Kyle Ryan says currently, I think the ceiling for JAMO is more of a Gabe Davis role. for the Bills.
Well, then it wasn't a good idea to pick him
No.
at number 12. And that's why I'm saying, would you rather have moving forward, and I know it's kind of a hypothetical, would you rather have Christian Watson, George Pickens, or a guy whose ceiling could be Gabe Davis? I don't think that is JMO's ceiling, by the way, but you're already talking about Gabe Davis as a ceiling. You don't draft Gabe Davis's at number 12
you do
overall.
Not. You do not. I agree with that.
As I said before, where are the targets? Who's going to lose targets? Is it going to be Josh Reynolds, Sam Laporta, or Amon-Ra St. Brown? They both have balled out. They have all been exemplary this year.
Now, if JMO organically starts taking targets away from other guys and the offense is still buzzing and he's being more involved, that's fine. But I know in no way for people that are like force feed JMO, he has to get involved. That I'm not a part of. Like it's a balance for me. I still believe in JMO. I still like JMO. I still think he's dynamic. I think he could be one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. That's his ceiling to me still. The other part of it is I don't want to take any momentum away from this offense. Like they're already efficient. Everyone's already making plays. Josh Reynolds, Sam Laporta. So it's kind of that balance, Lucas. Does that make sense?
No, it just goes back to just the common saying of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the fact that I think it's a luxury to have Jameson Williams right now, because if the Lions were in the Minnesota Vikings position and Jameson Williams was putting up this production, I'd be freaking the fuck out. I'd be like, what the hell are we doing? But the fact that the Lions are winning heals all, and it allows JMO to kind of, it doesn't put that pressure on him to succeed right away, and I think that's what's going to help him in the long run, where he's like, okay, I'm making mistakes now, but that's not putting a whole bunch of pressure like you're going to get traded, XYZ. It's like, no, make these rookie mistakes, make these second-year mistakes, get him out of your system, and it's not going to mess any of the flow up because he's not on the field every play, and it's a luxury at this point.
Yeah, 100%. Because there are people out there that are like, JMO has to get involved. He was drafted 12th overall. Force feed him, and he should get 10 targets a game. It's like, all right, dude. Like
that's like the logical way of thinking about it. But most receivers that are taking 12 overall are not going into like a winning situation. If you're taking 12th overall, it's probably an offense that's relying on you being the number one wide receiver
100%.
and the number one option for that whole offense, and that's just not the case in Detroit. So I think that context has to matter.
Speak Easy, shout out to Easy, says he will be a Deshaun Jackson type. But here's the thing, though, about Deshaun, and maybe I'm crazy for this, but I think he can be better than Deshaun just from this standpoint, because Deshaun was, you knew Deshaun's speed was always a threat. He was making plays down the field. He was stretching the field, right? And I think JMO can do that. But I think JMO would have more of a route tree. Like, I'm confident in JMO being more of a complete receiver. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But I don't think he should be a one-trick pony. I think I'd be disappointed if he was. Like, he's just the guy that maybe every other game he's got one or two plays downfield, and that's essentially what he does. I think he can run essentially every route on the route tree. That's what you really, when you take a wide receiver at 12, Sam, that's what I expect out of him.
I mean, many things can be true. At this point, if Jameson Williams becomes Deshaun Jackson and this Lions team reaches its ceiling, which would be a Super Bowl, I would be doing backflips. I'd be doing backflips regardless if they win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'll take the career of Deshaun Jackson.
Regardless of JMO. It's just, you're right.
The player,
I think Jameson Williams, the talent, is much more than Deshaun Jackson, the talent. It's just their speed and game-breaking ability, I would say, is similar in terms of talent. But he's got a long
all right.
way to go before you even can